What if the biggest economic battle in Europe isn't happening in headlines, elections, or summits, but quietly through capital flows, productivity gaps, and long-term divergence? What if the real UK-EU showdown isn't about who won Brexit, but about which economic model is proving more resilient under pressure? Most people assume this story is already settled. Brexit happened. The UK left. The EU moved on, case closed. But that assumption hides a deeper mystery. Why are both sides still struggling? In different ways, years later. To understand that, we have to rewind. For decades, the UK and the European Union were economically intertwined. The EU functioned as a massive single market, designed to reduce friction, harmonize rules, and amplify collective economic power. The UK, meanwhile, was one of its largest economies, a financial hub, and a gateway between Europe and global capital markets. This relationship was never frictionless. The UK retained its own currency, protected its financial autonomy, and often resisted deeper political integration. But economically, the system worked until political pressure began to collide with economic reality. Behind the scenes, two different visions were competing. One favored scale, regulation, and shared risk. The other favored flexibility, sovereignty, and global orientation. That tension would eventually reach a breaking point. The origins of the showdown lie in structural imbalances that predated Brexit by years. Within the EU, economic performance diverged sharply after the global financial crisis. Northern economies stabilized faster. Southern economies struggled with debt, unemployment, and weak growth. The Eurozone, while powerful, limited individual countries' ability to adjust through currency policy. In the UK, growth increasingly relied on finance, real estate, and consumption rather than productivity. Wages stagnated, regional inequality widened, political dissatisfaction grew. Cause led to effect. Economic frustration fueled political pressure. Political pressure reshaped policy debates, and those debates eventually produced Brexit. The vote wasn't the cause of the economic divide, it was the symptom. After Brexit, the UK and EU took different paths. The EU doubled down on integration. It expanded fiscal coordination, created shared debt mechanisms, and pushed industrial policy through green investment and digital regulation. The goal was stability through scale. The UK pursued regulatory independence, trade diversification, and financial flexibility. The promise was agility, faster decision-making, and global reach beyond Europe. At first, neither path looked clearly superior. Trade continued. Markets adjusted. Politicians claimed success. But beneath the surface, pressure was building. The breaking point came with overlapping shocks: the pandemic, energy crises, inflation, and rising interest rates. For the EU, the challenge was coordination. Supporting weaker economies without inflaming political divisions proved difficult. High energy costs exposed industrial vulnerability. Growth slowed, especially in export-driven economies. For the UK, the challenge was scale. Trade friction increased costs. Labor shortages emerged. Inflation hit harder. Productivity remained weak. Cause and effect became visible. Structural weaknesses amplified external shocks. Neither side won. Both revealed different limits. The fallout has been subtle but persistent. The EU faces slower growth, demographic pressure, and the complexity of governing diverse economies under one framework. Its strength scale also slows adaptation. The UK faces weaker investment, strained public services, and the difficulty of replacing frictionless trade with distant markets. Its strength, flexibility, comes with volatility. Living standards on both sides have felt the strain. Real wages have struggled to keep up with costs. Businesses face uncertainty not from politics but from economics. The showdown isn't dramatic, it's grinding. Both sides tried fixes. The EU expanded spending, loosened fiscal rules, and promoted strategic autonomy. The UK adjusted tax policy, trade agreements, and regulatory frameworks. But these fixes treated symptoms more than structure. Productivity growth remains weak. Demographics remain unfavorable. Debt remains high. Global competition is intensifying. History shows that when structural problems are patched rather than reworked, pressure returns often stronger. This UK-EU dynamic mirrors a global pattern. Advanced economies everywhere are facing the same cycle: low productivity, high debt, aging populations, and political pressure. Different systems respond differently, but none escape the trade-offs. Scale versus flexibility. Stability versus speed. Coordination versus sovereignty. The data tells a sobering story. Long-term growth expectations have fallen across advanced economies, regardless of political structure. The showdown isn't about borders, it's about models. So what does this quiet economic showdown teach us? First takeaway. Brexit did not end the UK-EU economic relationship, it transformed it into a long-term comparison of systems. Second takeaway. Both integration and independence carry hidden costs that only emerge under stress. Third takeaway. The real risk isn't choosing the wrong model, it is refusing to adapt either one. The warning is clear. Economic debates framed as political victories often ignore structural realities that don't vote, campaign, or compromise, and the open-ended question remains. As global pressures intensify, which model will adapt faster and which will break first? If this analysis helped you see beyond the headlines, support the channel by liking the video, subscribing for deeper economic breakdowns, and sharing your perspective in the comments. Because the most important economic battles are rarely the loudest ones.